Hey guys, Ian Fernando here and special guest. We're actually doing a kind of offset style podcast video. We have actually doing a wine and kind of cheese night here. I want to take advantage of Brandon's background, as you can see here in Medellin. So, the topic today is basically going to be about business. Me and Brandon have two different businesses, but he's able to live his business, which I thought is complicated in a digital nomad lifestyle. We'll talk about that, his travels, my travels, in comparison to travels, how our businesses are different, how they're all very similar, and how we're able to do digital nomad style together. So what I'm going to do is just introduce you to Brandon, or actually, Brandon, go ahead and introduce yourself while I allowed you to take a piece of cheese.
Bad timing.
Yeah.
So, I'm Brandon. I've been a digital nomad for the last 7, 9, 8 months now, I guess. 8 months. But yeah, so what I do is I have a product design firm, and I operate it remotely, and I have for, like the past year or so. But when I started based on the idea that I wanted to travel. So the whole time I was building the company, I never took on roles that were going to require me to be there physically. Sorry.
Oh, the cheese is good though.
That is fucking fire cheese.
Yeah.
But I've been an entrepreneur for the past decade plus. Started 4 different enterprises. This is by far my favorite, and I don't plan to stop doing it anytime soon. I'm really excited to share with you guys how I did it and the pros and the cons, the ups, the downs. It really is pretty up.
It's good. It's good.
I mean, there are times where there's obviously more challenges, but it's small and in between.
That's like any business, though.
Yeah.
Ups and downs in any business. I know in my industry, there's always these highs, and then you get the super lows.
I mean, versus being here versus being in the States for work.
Got it. But so you're a product engineer. You design products.
Mm-hmm.
When you first told me, I assumed it was in an office here when we first met. So how did that transition, or what is the scope of your business that allowed you to do or stay away from the office?
So most of what I do is either talking with clients or designing. So I do a lot of the strategy, right, with the client, and then we design out the part, and we make sure that we're not designed for function, but we're designing across all of their needs. So their business model, we understand their consumer, if it's going to be shipped, how it's going to be produced, how the consumer is going to use it at the end. But for all that kind of strategy, you don't need to be there, right? It can be done over the phone. There are some times where having the part in my hand is better. I have a 3D printer here, so that's a whole interesting aspect of it in itself.
The question would be, how do you travel with that 3D printer?
So the 3D printer, I spent a lot of time finding one that would fit my needs. So the smallest physical printer with the biggest volume. I use a Prusa Mini, which anyone that's in the design space, they know it's a super popular printer. Then I disassembled it and made a custom carrying case for it out of it's not a Pelican, it's a Pelican Live case. But yeah, and it's the largest carry-on size, and it's orange, so it matches the printer. But yeah, it works well. Allows me to bring a few extra tools and stuff with me. But that's a big part, that's essential for me being able to travel and do what I do, because sometimes they just hold in my hand, and I can't always hold the exact part, but I can mock something up in my hand and be real close to what I'm working with.
That's what's up, man. I mean, it's definitely a different business model from what I do, for sure. But it sounds very, very similar on the strategy side, planning, execution, creating a campaign, make sure clients right where the product's actually good for their consumers, So, with travel, you've only been doing for 8 months, you said?
Yeah.
So, I've been doing it for a very long time. And why did you choose to travel? What was the reason behind it?
So it's been something I've been seeking for probably the last 5 years.
Seeking. Fine seeking.
like wanting to do, and it actually started with a girl I was seeing who was like, "Hey, it'd be fun to sail around the world," and at the time I'm like, "You're nuts," but then just to like entertain her, I started looking into some videos and I'm like, "Wow, that actually seems like a really cool lifestyle," and that's when I started looking at watching travel vlogs and just getting like, really interested in it. I read the book The 4 Hour Work Week, and he talked about building a business that lets you travel. So after that, probably a year after that, or I don't know, yeah, somewhere around there, I started what is now today my product developer. And the whole time I was going off those principles and what I've learned in my other businesses to make something that really doesn't need a lot more than my computer and an internet connection. So I was like, if I already can do this, then why not travel, right?
So the question for a lot of people is, why not travel? Exactly what Brandon just said. For a lot of people, it's money-wise, right? So the biggest expense for me in travel is usually booking a flight and getting the hotel. Right? That's usually the biggest expense. But after that, as long as you have a steady workflow, there's a lot of freelancers here in Medellin. I met a lot of freelancers in Asia. It really all depends on the lifestyle that you kind of want to achieve, right? And Brandon answered his own question earlier where he said he wanted to travel for work. That's a great head start, you know what I mean? So what do you think the cons are for your travel and your work?
For me, the cons are, well, one, when I'm traveling, like when I first moved here, and the reason why I haven't moved so much is because you want to play, right? Like you get to a new country, you want to go out and see the sights, you want to go out and do stuff, and there's a lot of planning involved in that, and it just takes a lot of time and energy to plan a trip to another country, especially with all the COVID regulations changing and travel is changing constantly. It's a little harder to get up-to-date information. So that's why I've been more stationary in Medellin. But the other con I have is a lot of people want me to, like I said, receive their parts, ship their parts. I've overcome that by working with partners in the U.S. So, for instance, I have it's called Travel Mailbox. If somebody sends me something, it always goes to the same address, the Travel Mailbox. The Travel Mailbox will forward it to me anywhere in the world.
Traveling mailbox. Gotta use it too, right?
It's called Travel. I think it's called Travel. Oh, it might be Traveling Mailbox.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah, I use Traveling
right.
Mailbox too, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is actually.
My affiliate link will be in the description below.
I think it comes out to like $15, $16 a month per mailbox. We've got 2 mailboxes in 2 different cities. But yeah, it's pretty simple. So like something like that. Then I have another shop in the U.S. that will do 3D scans. So like if I really need it to be exact, I need that part, I can send it to them. They'll scan it, which is actually saves me a lot of time when I get it, and I can see it in a digital model to like extreme accuracy. They actually use the same technology that MRI machines use. So we get
That's nuts. So then, was Medellin your first stop?
Yeah, it's supposed to be my first stop. It ended up being where I live.
That's
but
crazy.
I mean, Medellin, no. Colombia, yes. So I stopped in Bogota, Cartagena, and then I came here.
Okay, so how long have you been in Bogota, Cartagena before you got
A
to
week
Spain?
in Bogota, 2 days in Cartagena.
Wow, not even travel.
Yeah, I mean, like, Cartagena's hot. I was complaining to stay there longer, but it's really hot.
Yeah, it's
There's
really
not
hot.
really air conditioning. It's basically kind of like Vegas in a sense, where you're there to party, and you're like, there's not like a real social aspect to it outside of the party world and the touristy side of things. Obviously, it's a beach town, so it's not. There's no gambling, but just the feel of it is like you go to the party, it's something you do for a weekend, and then you leave.
Yeah, I stayed in Medellin, Cartagena for about a week too. But I actually knew, I had an ex-girlfriend that was actually there while during Christmas. So I went to go visit her and chill with her and her family. It was cool. It was outside the walls, the touristy area. You know, super, super local, which is fine. I mean, and now I live here in Medellin, but my visa is actually expiring, and I'll be going to Brazil end of this month. So my next question to you is, how do you cater to visa restrictions?
That's probably the least fun part about traveling is having to deal with the technical part of it and the visas and being legal.
So you are illegal now.
Yeah.
I got that in video.
Yep,
The
yep.
government, if they need it.
But the thing about it is, I looked at all the different ways to get an extended visa, and what you find is most people end up bribing people anyways to get these permissions. So my thought is I'd rather just pay the fine, which is going to be less than a bribe and more closer to following the rules anyways. So that was the plan that I spoke. I spoke with other attorneys, couldn't find one that I trusted or really liked at the time. So this seemed like the most reasonable plan of action, and I wasn't really ready to leave yet. And I was pretty busy, so trying to find another country at that time was just like not really a good option for me either.
Why is that?
Well, it's just like, I don't know. I think some people might just jump into moving to another country. For me, I like to put a lot of research in, figure out where I'm going to stay, make contacts over there first. I'm probably more conservative than most of the travelers here, but that's just
Like when I travel, I just buy a plane. As long as I get my plane ticket and the hotel, I'll figure the rest out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the best part is that, especially with Airbnb, you can go to a place for a week.
Yeah.
If you don't like the area, go to another place for another week. You know, self-explore. You know, I think that's the best part of traveling is where you're just unconsciously not prepared. And I think that's the best way to experience life, not being prepared.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that to some extent, but there's certain things that I will always check, and that's like, the first thing is like, understand the area and what the lifestyle is, and the second thing is like, what are the scams that are running there, and understanding like what to look for. For here in Medellin, there is a drug, I'm not sure what the name is, but it's like a hypnosis type drug where you become extremely compliant, and they can ask you to, and then they'll give you the drug and they'll ask you to empty your bank accounts, things like that. It happened to one of our friends, and he's like taking months to recover from that because they like overdosed him on it. Not that it's ever good, but
Yeah.
So understanding like what to look for and like being aware of like Thailand. The biggest scam I came across was they would give these tuk-tuks. You get in them and they say the place is closed and take you somewhere else. So they get a little tip. That's like basically nothing that they do there. I mean, they might just say like, hey, to get to the not even Thailand, but like just like Vietnam.
They do that. They do that in Turkey.
They do that in Turkey or whatever, or like a bribe. But it's kind of standardized. It's standardized bribe. So it just,
you just gotta have common sense.
Yeah,
that's all it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but common sense is tough when you don't have variants to adjust to, right?
So that is a big.
Like you don't know how people are supposed to act in
Correct.
the country.
So this is the argument I give to a lot of people. Like especially me that grew up pretty rough. I already have a pretty good spectrum of how people react. Right. Whereas like there's a lot of people in like the expat groups, the WhatsApp groups. They'll always ask, "Oh, is Colombia dangerous? The world is dangerous, right? Look at the U.S. right now. The U.S. is a clusterfuck right now. You know what I mean? Like everywhere is dangerous, right? So, like for me, I've been here. The end of this September will be my full 6 months, and I haven't had any issues. You know what I mean? Whereas some people, I feel like they walk around scared and timid, and like people can feel that, right?
Yeah,
they can feel like you're weak. So there's a reason for you to be scared.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because my roommate is Colombian and she's more afraid of walking around than I am, like legitimately. And like the only thing that I've ever had stolen was a pair of sunglasses, and it was a girl that I invited over when I first got here. And obviously she was looking for a gringo to bring some money. Again, I didn't. This is one like the first couple weeks I was here, didn't really know what the culture was, what to look out for. But, you know, I also knew, like, okay, I'm not going to leave valuables out. I'm not going to leave out things, you know. I didn't spend a lot of money on these girls. So, you know, you start to feel them out. They start to feel you out pretty quick. You can adjust your behavior and understand, like, how to navigate. I've only been to maybe, like, 10 countries. So, I mean, I have some general understanding of like different cultures, but there's still a lot that I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think their experience plays a huge role for sure. Like I'm glad I kind of grew up a little rough, right? It definitely helped with my experience. Definitely helped with my businesses, especially closing deals and all that. But like for a lot of people that travel, do you depend on networking meetups for business? How do you network with people? How do you look for good people to network with? Like I found here in Medellin, there's a lot of startups. They're all in the beginner stages.
Yeah.
Whereas Southeast Asia, there's a lot of people in Southeast Asia that are already super successful that I can relate to them right away, whereas it's very hard for me to relate to a lot of people here, right? Because everybody's just starting, I feel like.
Yeah, and on that note, like, I used to get clientele by physically networking. I mean, I had but that was part of my strategy. And I had to definitely get away from that because basically most people in this country, like even gringos or like expats, they're not a good market for me because it typically, with the local community, the dollar is not very strong. And the gringos here are here because the dollar is not very strong, so they're already trying to leverage their dollar. So I don't even really want to necessarily work with somebody here unless I knew that they were looking to pay full price because I have enough clients. I don't really have a need to discount. And honestly, I really like the structure. Everything's through my computer. I don't have like one person physical. I don't have to worry about like an office space, anything like that. I just have a very simple structure. Everything goes to the same funnel. So.
Well, what about networking? Like for example, how we met. Like for example, I met him through WeWork meetup. I believe it was the second one.
Well, I wouldn't really say it's a WeWork meetup. They were calling it a WeWork meetup, but that was the name of the group on Facebook.
Correct.
There was a disconnect between them and WeWork. They're a totally different organization.
Yeah, that is true. But it is called WeWork, right? WeWork Medellin. There is definitely a differential on there where the group is leveraging the name a little bit. In any case, I go to a lot of networking events overseas because I want to meet up with other affiliates, a lot of marketers, a lot of entrepreneurs, headstrong people. Right?
Yeah.
When I came here and networked with people, I saw a huge gap difference in income or revenue or types of businesses. Again, everybody's here because it's very cheap to live and start on their startup, right? There's not a lot of established young businesses, I would say, that are here that I can have a decent conversation with. And don't get me wrong, like I'm all about conversation, but if you're a beginner and you can't keep up with my conversations, sometimes to me, I'm already an impatient person. I do not want to waste too much time, right? We'll definitely go out, hang out, have some beers.
Yeah.
But I have to filter out people.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Like, you want to, whether it's entrepreneurship or just anything, any hobby you have, like, if you're into mountain biking and you're riding, like, or skiing, right, and you're riding Black Diamonds, you don't want to go out skiing with your friends that are on fucking greens, you know? It's boring. You're like, hey, I want us all to be to hang together and keep up. Same kind of thing, right? Like, and I'm sure if you guys are entrepreneurs hearing this, you're gonna think the same thing. But
hey, all my viewers are all entrepreneurs. They're all marketers, all right?
Okay.
They all make money. Don't worry about it. Don't mind.
So you guys already know what we're talking about. I'm not gonna explain shit.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like kind of because there's one time in one of the groups, the digital nomad groups, especially here, where it was very difficult for me to find markets that were high level that I can compete with, where I can just be like, hey, I spent X amount of money, but then they would be like, damn, you spent that much? I'm only doing $100 a day. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if you understand my strategy, right? So like, I left this not comment, but I started a thread in Digital Nomad magazine, and I was saying, are there any marketers here that want to meet up that makes more than $10,000 in revenue a month, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not even a high number, you know.
It's a good size, but yeah, it's still definitely, like, I would say, lower middle tier.
Yeah, and then I just got reamed in it, right? Like everybody's trying to like bash me out, and they're like saying, oh, why don't you make the minimum entry $1 million a month? I'm like, and I respond to the person like, if you want it to be $1 million, I can match $1 million, you know. And then this person responds back saying, well, everybody wants to learn, you should give everybody the opportunity. Giving everybody the opportunity, yes. The problem with opportunity is not a lot of people know how to use it. You know what I mean?
And it's not even just that. It's like you want to bounce ideas off of people that are in the same place as you, so you can grow together. But if you're trying to bounce ideas with someone that's just starting their business, they don't really have the experience, or they're not in the same place. So even if you give them the same advice as somebody where you are at, they're going to get a different result, right? You can't have the same strategy spending $100 a day as if you're spending $100,000 a day. So you have to. So it really makes a lot of sense to be around those types of like-minded people that are where you are strategically.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, for example, Affiliate World Conference is coming up, and I'm so excited. I'm planning to see if I can go, just because my travel issues coming back into maybe Brazil or Medellin from Dubai. I kind of miss you guys at Affiliate World, so I definitely want to shout you guys out. And they're super all high, like-minded people, you know, and that's kind of what you want to be around with. Like, you don't want to talk basketball memes to a person that loves hockey. You know, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right? Now, as a traveler and business person, how do you meet these people besides networking events? What are the other ways to do that as a digital nomad?
You mean meeting other like-minded people?
Yeah.
For me, it's really only been some type of networking event or some type of expat events. My Spanish is pretty horrible, so trying to carry on a well thought out conversation with somebody else, even if they're, you know, it doesn't matter where they are, it's just my vocabulary is not big enough. I have tried it once, and it was painfully difficult. I mean, he spoke a little English, I spoke a little Spanish. Actually, has a really cool business model, telemedicine, and a young entrepreneur who's like blowing it out of the water. But it was just, and I really wanted to be to connect and work together with him, but it just, man, that language barrier can be tough. And it's not possible. It's not impossible, but it takes us about 4 or 5 times as long to explain something. So.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I have local friends. I haven't done really too much on the local business side here. I definitely met some affiliates. Like one person is an organic person that does purely review sites. He's an affiliate. I met affiliate bloggers here. She does specific travel blog, which is pretty cool. You know, like for me, it's obviously networking, constantly going out and checking out events, right? But then I start to segment those into my own little filters, right? I have my own WhatsApp group. I have like my basketball group. I have my affiliate guys for media buyers, you know what I mean, right here, which there's not a lot for some reason. And then it's just trying to constantly grow, right? But again, the difference here from Southeast Asia is Southeast Asia has a super high level, like, marketers there. Like, they're already making X amount, and they're just so high level. Whereas here, I found it's just starting. And I think it's because, obviously, the time zone is obviously cheap.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I'm assuming the time zone works for you very, very well.
Yeah, that was actually one of the big reasons why I started in South America over Asia. I went to Thailand thinking I was going to go live there. And I realized, like, I knew this the whole time, but taking a realization that I don't really want to live in a country if I have to work at night all the time. And like I said, I have a lot of interaction with my clients, so I don't have a good way yet to outsource that. I don't have somebody that I feel comfortable turning that over to. Maybe in the future I'll have somebody trained up there, but that's really the face of the business, right? The interaction. Everything else is a lot easier to turn over, but it's not just sales; it's sales and strategy. Being able to have those strategy conversations with my clients is essential for me. So,
client interfacing is always important.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is the reason why I do affiliate marketing. I'm not going to interface with anybody besides my affiliate manager. That's pretty much it. And sometimes we don't have to even go on Zoom, it's just a Skype conversation, Telegram conversation, and that's pretty much it.
I gotta say, I'm pretty jealous about that.
Yeah, and like every business I start, it's like I'll do a business, you know, and then I tend to go back to affiliate marketing just because I don't have to concentrate on anything else except marketing,
Yeah.
media buying, conversions. I don't think about merchant. I don't think about employees. I don't think about customers. I don't think about follow-ups. I'm just focus on a single conversion, and that's pretty much
Yeah, I
it.
like that, like a one-dimensional business.
Yeah, exactly. It's you're like super tunnel vision, and that's the reason why affiliate marketers are like the best marketers and sought after marketers, right?
Yeah.
Because we're just so good at just marketing. But in any case, you were talking about scams earlier, right? I want to bring up how and we were talking about like filtering people out. Like obviously, there's a lot of people in the industry that are talking. You know, there's a lot of gurus. For example, like I know I just called one out the other day on one of these digital nomad groups, and this person he created a group, a very popular group, right? This person lives in Thailand, and now he's just spamming the group because he's going broke because of COVID, right? So he asked people in his group to donate to him.
Jeez.
Yeah, and then I was just like, dude, if you're considering yourself an entrepreneur and you're teaching people and you're a coach for digital nomads, if you're a coach for digital nomads, how the hell are you begging people to donate to you, right?
That's wild, yeah.
Yeah, like I find that absurd, right? So the question is like, what is the falsified version of digital nomadism, right? Like meaning fake entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurs like Mark Cuban would say.
So, yeah, for one, I notice a lot of people, and this is not like a hate on anybody, but a lot of people come over here with a day job that they do remotely, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to start a remote business or something. You hear that a lot, and they're like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm starting this business. But until you've actually like made sustainable income, it's not even like, it doesn't have to be like you can live on it, but at least continuously like have some kind of steady rhythm, you don't really have a business. You might have made a buck, but it's not a business. When you learn how to make a stable income, then you can start to use that and rely on that income, whether it's to grow the business or whether it's for yourself. But you got to really understand, like, it's not about, oh, I made 100K on, I was able to sell one deal for 100K, but if you can't repeatedly do that, then you're just a salesperson, or you're just like, you might have gotten, lucky essentially. But, and honestly, if you've sold a 100K deal, you probably did something really right, and you can go back and look at that and repeat that.
Yeah.
But it's important that you are understanding what you did right and what you did wrong so you can repeat it.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I see here, though, I don't know if it's just Colombia or all over the world, but the expats here, a lot of them they talk and their stories don't add up.
Dude, but that's all over the world, because you're right. Like, there's people here. I met people in Europe. I met people in South Asia. Like, even at conferences, I'll talk to the person. I'm like, those numbers don't add up in my head. Like, I'm processing it in my head. I'm like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? And you try to dig in deeper, and the person will like argue, like, no, this is the right way. I'm like, well, explain it to me. I'd like to learn this,
Yeah.
right? But then they never get to that learning where I'm actually learning something, right?
Yeah.
So that is the difficulty part. There is, a lot. Again, but they're taking advantage of the low cost living, having a lifestyle, and trying to figure out themselves out. Is that a bad thing or a good thing? Argument, I believe, but I think that you should be true to yourself. Like, I know for myself, when I first started, I was working 3 jobs, and I just wanted to get rid of 2.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? So I never kind of fake it till you make it.
I respect the fuck out of that. Like, a lot of people, I hear this all the time. I'm too busy. I don't have time. I don't have the resources. I don't have the money. But the truth is, like, I started my company with like less than $300, and I'm quite confident I can do it again and again. And yeah, that's really hard if you have a product-based business, but in the service-based business, it's getting leads, it's working for them, right? You have to have the skill set at a time, right? You're not going to be able to train yourself, but...
Well, let me correct you on that. So Russell Brunson actually teaches, if you want to learn a career in online, you sell that so you can learn with that, how do you say it?
Alongside them.
Yeah, alongside them.
That's an interesting strategy.
Yeah,
That's actually
So you sell yourself short just to get a client or whatever. So you can read the book, put it to the person as a test, and learn along the way, which is, I hate that strategy, right?
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but it's an interesting concept. I respect the guy.
I respect the guy too.
Brilliant
He's actually really smart.
It's brilliant,
Yeah,
but
That is like the dumbest way I think to learn.
I mean, I would say if you're trying to get experience in something before you do it, go get a job. And like, I think jobs are underrated right now. Like everyone's like, oh, a job's just over broke, or like I've heard so many negative things about having a 9 to 5. But really, one, somebody else is taking all the risk on you. Okay, they're taking the risk on you. They're paying you to teach you, right? And like you're still getting a stable income. A lot of these jobs, you can work your way up, make a decent paycheck, but if you just take jobs to learn and you're eager and you put forth the effort, people respect that and they want to teach you more.
Yeah, dude. Like when I was at Vonage, like the only reason why I'm so good at analytical, analysis reading, is because I learned it at Vonage, right? I was given the opportunity to look at stats and do telecom comparisons, right? Pricing and all that, and from different vendors, I'd be like, okay, even though this has to be the cheapest pricing per minute, the quality isn't that good. So where can I find a median, and how much should I bring to this volume, right? So it actually gave me a lot of insights on analytics, right? So yeah, Brandon's not wrong. Jobs are underrated, but you just gotta have the right, or find the right job, really. You know what I mean? That piques your interest. Just don't get it just get it because you want to get something back. You're giving time, you want to get something back. You know what I mean? A little bit of it.
Yeah, and I would say like take the jobs that are going to give you the best learning opportunities, not just the best paycheck. Because a lot of times it's the opposite. A lot of times the jobs that give you the most room to grow pay the least. I see that a lot.
That's like startups, right?
Yeah. A lot of, it actually starts to be a really great place to learn because typically you can advance really quickly, and they're going to give you a lot of responsibility really quick. Like,
I find that that's the problem. I feel like the person should not work at a startup because they give you too much responsibilities that you become an expert in none. Yeah. So you want a mentor. You want a mentor.
Interesting.
Right. You don't want many mentors.
But okay, that's a very fair argument. On the flip side of that, you're learning on somebody else's dollars. So they're giving you money. I mean, they're paying you, but they're also taking on the risk. Like my past roommate was an attorney, worked at a very small, high-end boutique firm with only like 3 or 4 other attorneys. And the one guy who owned it was basically half retired and had him right out of college, essentially running this law firm. 3 years later, he leaves, he goes and starts his own law firm. And now he's making like twice what he was in the other law firm. So, I mean, he got some mentorship, but he's also a really bright kid, works really fucking hard, grinds his ass off, and was able to pick up the slack and figure out the shit. So you gotta look internal and say like, what do you want, and what kind of structure.
I mean, that's very difficult. Like when I first started, I didn't even think I was going to be an entrepreneur or marketer. I didn't even consider myself an entrepreneur because I don't give back to society.
I don't think that's what entrepreneur is. Someone that solves a problem.
I'm not solving a problem.
You're solving a problem of some type of marketing. You're bringing somebody something of value, and they're giving you monetary value.
Even though it's so aggressive that they don't need it. Like I can sell you air.
But it's not about what you're solving a.
Well, tips, guys. We're a little tipsy right now,
the
so on that.
problem might not be. You're creating perceived value.
Yeah.
And that's making people feel something good.
That is our job. That is our job.
Yeah, the way you go about it is a lot different than the way I go about it, for sure.
Correct. But in any case, we're gonna get this interview almost conversation closing down. The last question I really do want to ask is like we mentioned, we really didn't get into in depth about filtering out people, and we're talking about expats trying to be better than, or saying that they are, but even though they're not, right? Even though you see that all around the world, there's a lot here, especially, you know. So, how does one notice a fake person?
I think it's pretty easy. I mean, like, I can think of one person in particular. Let's call him K.
Okay.
And I think we both know who. But, I mean, like, for instance, one guy, he's supposed to be a startup coach. But working with him directly in a charity situation, like, it was quite clear that he had no idea how to organize it. He's read the books. He's heard people say the things, but you can tell he's never implemented. He's never, like, used this information. And, like, watching him fumble through it is fine, but I'm thinking, like, you charge people to tell them this stuff? Like, you know, where, like, I mean, I work with product design, so I see a lot of companies starting up, and I help them through that path. So I know what to look at. I guess for me, it's very clear, like very quickly I can spot it. Like, okay, these things don't add up.
I don't know, cause I even told him, like, dude, I don't know about this one. And I'm worried, cause I've had experience, like, dude, I don't know.
But I stayed in for different reasons. It's not that I didn't believe you. It wasn't that. I stayed in for other reasons.
Okay.
So I don't want to get too much into like the
Yeah.
political side of that.
So what were the obvious signs besides?
Well, okay, for instance, their personality should meet what they say, right? Like, if they say they're here to help people, and then they're sitting there talking shit about people, screwing people over, trying to take advantage of every situation, they're not congruent. So, like, to me, that was, like, the biggest flag. It was just the incongruency across the board. But you see a lot of people that are like, you know, they throw out, oh, I make all this money. There was a kid I met. He's like, oh, I just made $140K this month, you know,
Stop talking about me.
As some kind of lifestyle coach. And somebody else, you know, he's talking about how he has a marketing company. He's like clearing $100K a month, you know. And you talk to these people and I could be wrong, you know, I might read them wrong, but a lot of them don't seem like they're at that level mentally, you know.
So,
you think, like, there's only people like a very clear head and like a very well spoken. You know, they have clear decisions. They, you know, the way they make decisions, the way they speak, the way they carry themselves.
So when we first met, what was my version to you? Or did I say that right? Shit.
Well, so we didn't we met. Like I was introduced to you briefly, but I don't just like look at someone across the room and say, "Oh, he's full of shit." He knows what he's talking about, right? Like I have to sit down and talk with him, right?
Yeah.
But we were like in a boardroom setting, so I got to see your intellect before I got to know you. So I never really, I was never like.
My personality is definitely strong for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys know that. Just, I don't. If you want to learn, I just tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Right? That's my attitude. I'm a very open person.
You're no bullshit kind of guy.
Yeah. So that's kind of my thing because if somebody tells me that I'm wrong, I'll be like, dude, I'm wrong. Even when I go to conferences and I speak and somebody asks me a question that I didn't know the answer, I will publicly say I don't know the answer. I'm not gonna bypass it, right? Because I know if I do, the internet will just bash me, and then obviously my name gets a little bit ruined, right? But I mean, that's the risk. You know what I mean? I'd rather protect my name because I even just want to grow as a person. If I'm wrong, I'm gonna find that person in the conference. I'm like, yo, dude, what did you mean by that? Like, what was your experience? And I'm like, if he explained it in a different way, I'm like, oh, I get it. Then I'll give him my feedback, and he'll give me his feedback, right? We would have to even exchange a little bit, where I'm like, oh man, I'm such a clusterfuck. No, you're always learning. You know, that's the thing. So,
yeah.
Well, that's the end of this wine and cheese. I didn't get to release cheese. I was choking a little bit of the ham a little earlier. I apologize for that. Brandon, I want to thank you. We might be doing this a couple more times. The view is amazing. Thank you for providing the view.
Yeah, let us know what you think in the comments, and if there's something you want us to answer, if you have any questions about what we talked about, or you want to see us like talk more about one particular topic.
Yeah, this is basically a testing phase. Me and Brandon were talking about doing a podcast about nomads and business and how do we interact with it. So the way I like to do businesses in the beginning is just to just do it, and then let the business model develop itself. I've sold companies where I thought the vision was here, but my consumers told me to go here. So,
Pivot model.
yeah, exactly, right? So this is what we're doing. I feel like we should talk about travel, business, interaction of both sides. Brandon has a very different perspective of business. Obviously, I have a different perspective of business, which gives a good argument and consolidation of information for you guys. So leave a comment. Tell us what you think. If you want a specific topic that we can interact with, let us know as well. And then, Brandon, you have any website you want to tell them about?
Yeah, if you want to know more about what I do, go to myproductdeveloper.com. You can check it out there. Schedule a meeting with me. We'll keep it nice and fun, up, And I won't be drinking, so I'll be clear with my words.
That's awesome.
And I'll really like to just hear what you're trying to do and understand how I can help.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna try to finish this last bottle here. This is a Malbec, by the way, 2017, so it's 4 years old, which makes it a really good wine. Wait, am I turning this podcast into a wine podcast now? In any case, guys, thank you very much. We'll talk to you guys soon, and tell us what you think, and we'll talk soon.